Greetings. We continue with our Vijñāna-bhairava-tantra series. Now we come to verse 60, which is yukti number 32 in my numbering. And this verse continues the same theme as the previous verse. Let's look at it together in Sanskrit and English. Nirvṛkṣagiribhittyādideśe dṛṣṭiṃ vinikṣipet vilīne mānase bhāve vṛttikṣīṇaḥ prajāyate. One may cast one's gaze on an area free of trees, mountains, walls, and so on. When the mental state dissolves into that open field, then arises the state of being in which vṛttis, mental emotional fluctuations or churning, is feeble or absent. Okay, so let's go through it again, word by word, in the English order. Right? Sanskrit word order is always very different from English word order. And it makes more sense, I think, if we do it in the English word order, but I mention which Sanskrit terms go with which phrase. So one may cast one's gaze, dṛṣṭiṃ, vinikṣipet. And you'll note the word dṛṣṭi, which is used frequently in modern yoga practice to mean the point of the gaze point. And here it's the same thing, but it's not a focused point of gaze, but rather an open gaze. So, dṛṣṭiṃ vinikṣipet, one may cast one's gaze, where? On an area, deśe, which is free of trees, mountains, walls, and so on. nirvṛkṣagiribhittyādideśe. So Sanskrit uses long compounds almost exactly in the way that German does. Now, here we have two possible translations. It could be an area free of trees, mountains, walls, and so on, or it could be giving three different options. Cast your gaze on an area free of trees, an open space, or on a mountain, or on a blank wall, or something like that, adi. So we don't know what the author intended, and when you look at the collected translations, right, I always post in the Facebook group 5 different translations of the same verse from 5 different translators, including myself. And there you see that some have gone with one option and some have gone with the other, and this is a case where there's no right or wrong. Both options are valid and viable, and we don't know what the author intended. So that's why it's good to share both options with you. Okay, so then it says, vilīne mānase bhāve. When the mental state dissolves into that, meaning into that open field, or that spacious openness wherever you put your gaze, the blank wall, whatever it is, then arises a state or condition in which vṛttis are kṣīṇa, are destroyed, dissolved, absent, or perhaps feeble. So the word kṣīṇa can mean weak or feeble, or it can mean destroyed, absent, gone. And here perhaps the difference is not significant, that if your vṛttis are feeble and very much in the background, your mental emotional fluctuations, if they're feeble and in the background or completely absent, actually experientially doesn't make that much difference. So interesting that here we have the word vṛtti, which everybody knows probably from the Yoga Sutra, the famous definition of yoga, yoga as a state, as the culmination of the practice of yoga, from Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. So that famous definition, yogash chitta vritti nirodha, yoga is the state in which the fluctuations of the heart-mind have become still. The vrittis of the chitta have become nirodha in that famous definition. So the same term here, vritti, which properly means not just mental fluctuation, but mental emotional fluctuation. Because in Sanskrit, the chitta is the locus of both thought and emotion. They are not separated as they are in popular discourse of Western culture, where we think of sort of thoughts are part of the mind and emotions are part of the heart. At least in colloquial everyday discourse, we talk like that. And in the Indian tradition, that was never the case. As you know, if you read my books, chitta is the locus of both thought and emotion. Physiologically, it's thought to be here. But the important point is that the chitta is the locus of thought and emotion. Hence, a chitta vritti is a mental emotional fluctuation or churning. Churning is a more literal definition or translation of the word vṛtti. And it corresponds maybe to our experience more. You know, when you feel like, gosh, your thoughts and emotions are just churning around, you know, and you really want relief from that. And that's part of what meditation offers, you know. Yoga in the sense of primarily meditation here. So here, though, of course, we're getting a sort of easy method, if it works. This is a sukhopaya for all those for whom it works. You just cast your gaze into an open space. You know, if I have to go with one or the other, I think the verse probably intends, the author probably intends the translation I've given you here. A space, an open space free of trees, mountains, walls, and so on, where there's sort of nothing to catch your attention. And that's why it doesn't matter if you go with the other translation. And you can look at a blank wall. The point is there's nothing to sort of catch your attention. You just let your awareness dissolve into that open space or that blank wall or whatever. And you know, mānase bhāve, again, that could mean mental emotional state, right? Not just mental state, dissolves into that open space. And then what arises is this vṛttikṣīṇaḥ state, the state in which your vrittis are feeble or absent. So another Shambhava Upaya practice, meaning to say, one of these practices where there's nothing to think about, contemplate, understand, or get, and there's nothing to do particularly other than the very, very subtle effort involved in simply following the instruction, you know. So that's a Shambhava Upaya practice, and by definition, these practices either work or they don't almost immediately. But what I want you to pay attention to, please, is that sometimes the very same practice that doesn't work for you one day does on another day. So please do not try it once or twice and conclude, oh, this is one of those that doesn't work for me. Because especially with all these Shambhava Upaya practices, it might simply not click on one given day and then click on some other given day. So you always sort of keep them in your back pocket, even if you've not experienced what the verse is talking about. Okay, so that's it for that verse. Another short video, unless there's any questions. And those of you who are watching live, I'm about to do a practice video right after this. So please join me for that. Thank you to all the patrons who make this free course possible. And we will continue tomorrow. Okay, I hope to get time tomorrow to do another video. Anyway, soon. We're moving a little more rapidly through these extremely simple Shambhava Upaya practices at this point, and getting caught up with where we're supposed to be in terms of the series. So nice to be with you all. Om.